Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting is called to order. Please stand and we'll have the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for being here for our regular meeting tonight. Our first item on the agenda is 1.2, a moment of silence.
Eternal God, we thank you for this moment. We thank you, Lord, for the efforts, Lord, that you're going to give us, Lord, to participate in the people's business. Bless this city, bless its citizens, bless this meeting. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. 1.3, our presentation of the financial statement and the supplementary information for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. And I will ask Ankur to come to the mic. Hi. Ankur is with Thurman and Campbell, and you will remember him being here in years past. Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Ann. I'm glad to be here again, and thanks for giving us the opportunity again this past year to be the auditors for the city. So I'll make it quick. I know you have a lot of items on your agenda.
Amen.
So if you have the audit report in front of you, can you go to page 4, please? So this is the audit report that we provide an opinion of. So we provided an unmodified opinion. That's the best opinion you can get in an audit. So this marks the first hit in the baseball, and you're to base 1. So we'll go to base 2. Let's see if we can make it. So if you go to page number 84, this is what we call, like I've said in the past, it's the yellow book governmental report. Audit requires us to perform internal control review for the city over the financial reporting and also look into the compliance requirements with contracts, laws, regulations. And based on our audit, we did not find any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in the internal control or non-compliance with contracts, laws, or regulations. So another good hit, base 2. So 2 bases loaded. Let's see who can make the third base. So as you know, city had COVID funding for state and local governments, and also the federal and state loan for the wastewater project. So that qualifies city for a single audit. A single audit is we are trying to make sure the federal funding was spent according to the compliance requirements. And based on our audit, we found that, yes, city complied with all the federal requirements to spend the funding that they were provided for. So again, good hit. All 3 bases are loaded. Now let's see if we can hit a home run. If we go to page 89, please. This is where we summarize our findings and any question caused. And if you look at number 9, under summary A, number 9, the city qualified as a low-risk auditee for single audit purposes. That's great. Mm-hmm. That reduces the work we have to do. Nothing to you, but lessens the work we have to do. And if you see point B and point C, there were no findings.
Yay.
So home run, yay. So score is 4-0, right? 4-0. I would take your attention to page number 18. And all the way towards the bottom, on the left side, you'll see unassigned fund balances and then unassigned. Mm-hmm. And under general fund column, you'll see $13.789 million. So as per city's policy, you require to have about $2 million of unassigned fund balance. As you can see, you are way over the limit that you have in your policy, so you're doing really great. With that said, that's all I have. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to.
That's a rainy day fund.
That's a rainy day fund, yeah.
In case we have an emergency.
Yes.
You can turn on the TV and see every city around the country having an emergency, so we need to make sure that's
it's
in
important.
good shape. I want to thank Ms. Lisa Crockett before we take questions, our finance director, and all of your staff. have worked very hard on this, work very hard on this every year. Audits are not easy. I know that from the banking world. Questions, ladies and gentlemen?
I'm glad the general public's here, so you can see that we run a very tight and a very efficient city. Thank you, Ms. Crockett. Thank the staff. And you can be pleased, nothing is wasted, every penny is accounted for. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. That's it.
Any questions before he leaves his mic? No questions? Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you again.
We'll see you back next
See
year,
you.
I'm sure.
Yep.
1.4, the approval of the minutes of our regular meeting for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on December 20th, 2022. Motion by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Hubbard. Are there any correction to the minutes? No corrections, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on to our legislative agenda. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 23-01 on a first reading. An ordinance amending the fiscal year 2023 annual budget of the city of Springfield by amending certain general funds and utility funds operating budgets. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Vice Mayor Harris. I will call on Ms. Brickles to read this first reading.
Ordinance 23-01, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2023 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund and utility fund operating budgets. Whereas it is necessary to amend the city of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2023 in order to meet the requirements of the city charter. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee, that the city of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2023 is hereby amended to make necessary changes to expenditures and revenues within the funds and departments as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. I'll call on our city manager, Mr. Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is budget amendments, our first ordinance of the new year. You can see that there are two items that are being amended here, and the change orders that you all approved in September and in December for the software conversion, those are included now that they're approved. We need to amend the budget to reflect that, as well as Shop with a Cop, the program that the police department puts on. Received some donations this year, and so we're balancing that out with including the expenses.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Thank you, Chief, for doing that program and continuing that program. No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 23-02 on a first reading. Ordinance rezoning two parcels located at the corner of John L. Patterson Street and Bransford Drive from R7 High Density Residential District to CS Commercial Service District. Motion made by Alderman Trotter, a second by Alderman Hubbard. Questions and discussion on this? Oh, first reading, I'm sorry. I'm just checking to see if she's awake.
Ordinance 23-02, an ordinance rezoning two parcels located on the corner of John L. Patterson Street and Bransford Drive from High Density Residential District R7 to Commercial Services District CS. Whereas a rezoning application was presented to the Springfield Regional Municipal Planning Commission by Southern States Construction, representing the owner Greater Faith Community Action Corporation, requesting two parcels with approximately 9.79 acres located on the corner of John L. Patterson and Bransford Drive, tax map ADP Group B parcels 73 and 74 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee be rezoned from high density residential district to commercial services district. Whereas on January 5th, 2023, the Springfield Planning Commission reviewed the application and voted to recommend the rezoning request. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Two parcels totaling approximately 9.79 acres owned by Greater Faith Community Action Corporation located on the corner of John L. Patterson Street and Bransford Drive, tax map ADP Group B parcels 73 and 74 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, and being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, is hereby rezoned from High Density Residential District to Commercial Services District. This rezoning shall become effective following its third second and final passage as required by law. Just switch that.
Thank you. We used to have 3 readings. I'm gonna call on our city manager, Mr. Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. So this rezoning is for the soon-to-be home of the Bransford Community Center, and they are ready to get started. Southern States Construction, and Micah Buck is their chief operating officer, and he's here tonight if you have any questions. I sent you all the concept of that, but in order to make that happen, the property needs to be rezoned. It was previously zoned to R7, which was from a blanket overlay I understand that the city did years ago when Bransford High School was still there. So in order to get them eligible to get a building permit and and have the community center there, we need to rezone this property.
Little bookkeeping.
Really quickly, I'm just going to be abstaining from the vote because I am heavily involved with Bransford Community Center.
Okay? Yes, sir.
Yes, I've been bothered to say this. Since it's public money, I want to know the purpose, and is that open to the general public? I just want someone just to tell on television. Anyone here from there?
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Buck is the only one, I think he's the only one here.
Taxpayers been asking me, and I just want to make sure that it's said, understand me?
Okay,
Yes, sir.
The purpose,
The purpose of the rezoning?
not the purpose
the-
of
the
the
community
usage
center?
of the building that you're going to build.
Okay, and Ms. Lisa may be able to explain that more. She's probably got more direct involvement with the purpose of that, if that's okay.
Sure. Yes, it will be open to the public. It is a general community center that will have, the reason we're actually doing the rezoning is so that we can have events. We can have different programs in there outside of just what a daycare or an after-school program could provide. And that's actually one of the main reasons why Bransford decided to do the rezoning. It will have the current program, which is Bransford Pride. This takes care of K through 5. We have nearly 70 kids in that program right now. This will allow us to serve so many more that we've actually had to turn away before, so I'm feeling really good about that. It will also allow us to expand our programming as well with other partners in the city, including other nonprofits that serve children that are outside of those grades or in older grades as well. We are looking during the daytime to allow access to senior citizens, especially in that area, so they can have a place to gather, to inspire one another, to have really fun programming where we can all be a community right at the community center, so yes.
Ms. Lisa?
sure.
The reason why I asked that, because I don't want, and I'm tired of coming to my ears and saying that this is strictly for number minorities. I wanted to hear from you, and you just said it. It's open to everyone. It's not just a minority program or building. That's why I want to
Yes,
clear
and-
there, okay?
And I would also mention too that the current Bransford Pride program is pretty equal as far, if we're
It
talking
is.
about race and background. In fact, I would say that it is heavy on Caucasians in the program. And then I would say maybe about 30% African American and about 20% Hispanic. So it is very racially diverse, which I think that's what makes Springfield beautiful. Is that we're all not from the same background and we all
That
come
is
together.
true. And that just, I wanted that said to dispel all these rumors, it's
Yeah,
just gonna be
absolutely.
for blacks only,
Absolutely.
I'm sick of hearing that, because we don't operate that way.
Mr. Trotter.
I represent that ward, and I have to state that every taxpayer I talk to thinks it's a great idea. The Bransford Pride program is a great thing. It helps the kids stay out of the chief's hands,
Yes, that's true.
and it helps the community.
And we need volunteers.
That's exactly right, and I'm 100% for it, and I think most of the community is. Thank you.
If there's anybody in the audience that would like to come be a mentor, we would appreciate that. I've gone over several times and read and done various things that I'd invite anybody else to come with me. Any other questions? Questions, sir? Thank you.
Thank you, sir, I got my
And
answer.
really, the big thing with the rezoning is just, after meeting with the city, having it rezoned will allow the community center to be used for more diverse activities and really make it maximize the use of that space and the property, so.
And see, I'm not against it, but I just wanted to say it publicly for those naysayers, understand me, those rumor floaters, okay? I just wanted to dispel that myth, okay?
Okay, yeah.
I've been from it from the onset.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for partnering.
Yes, ma'am, we're excited to be part of it. Thank you.
We appreciate your involvement in the community. Any questions? No questions, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 5-0 to 1.
Thank you. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 23-03 on a first reading. A ordinance rezoning 2 parcels located at 1801 and 1803 Nicholas Drive from RS 20 Low Density Residential Single Family District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. We have a motion to discuss by Vice Mayor Harris and a second by Alderman Hubbard. I'll call on Ms. Brickles to read this.
Ordinance 23-03, an ordinance rezoning 2 parcels located at 1801 and 1803 Nicholas Drive from low-density residential single-family district, RS 20, to multiple residential and office district, MRO. Whereas a rezoning application was presented to the Springfield Regional Municipal Planning Commission by Matthew Richardson, representing BH Construction, LLC, requesting 2 parcels with approximately 2.54 acres located at 1801 and 1803 Nicholas Drive, Moreland Estates, lots 179 and 180, tax map 91J, Group B, parcels 1 and 2 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, be rezoned from low-density residential single-family district to multiple residential and office district. Whereas the Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the application and voted unanimously to not recommend the rezoning request. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. 2 parcels totaling approximately plus or minus 2.54 acres owned by BH Construction, LLC, located at 1801 and 1803 Nicholas Drive, Moreland Estates, lot 179 and 180, tax map 91J, Group B, parcels 1 and 2 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, and being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, is hereby rezoned from low-density residential single-family district to multiple residential and office district. This rezoning shall become effective following its second and final passage as required by law.
Thank you. I'm gonna call on our city manager, Mr. Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. As Ms. Brickles read in the ordinance, this is for the rezoning of 2 parcels on Nicholas Drive. It was voted down, or not to recommend, rather, by the Planning Commission. The staff also did not recommend that the Planning Commission approve it for a number of reasons, and it has nothing to do with the concept. So the concept of a food truck park is a unique concept to Springfield. We currently don't have, you all have modified our food truck park regulations a couple of times to shore up some things and make it a little bit easier, but make sure it's an equitable environment. The food truck park concept currently is not allowed. That's not necessarily why the staff wasn't in favor of the rezoning and why the Planning Commission wasn't in favor of the rezoning, because the concept could work, and there may be locations where the concept could work. The first issue, when these 2 parcels were brought for rezoning last time, they were part of the Moreland Estates residential plat, and they still are. So these are 2 platted residential lots. That causes a great deal of concern on our part as well as the Planning Commission's part. And additionally, MRO is the zoning classification, and so when we're doing rezonings, we're not necessarily talking about the concept to be used. We're talking about what the rights then are given to the parcels after the rezoning. And MRO creates in itself a variety of uses I brought up the example, should the food truck park be successful, and so successful that it has to move to a larger location, then if that property gets sold, the new owner of the property now has all of the rights and availabilities that MRO, and maybe things that, that could be unwanted. I think a food truck park located in a residential subdivision is not the most ideal scenario right now, or at all, really, and these lots are continue to be platted residentially. So our recommendation, as well as the Planning Commission's recommendation, would be not to approve the rezoning.
And I'm gonna ask the first question. How old is that plat? It goes back to,
That section is, and Ms. Barty did the research on this too, I believe it's
roughly.
1988.
I think this is actually a newer section.
88, 89.
Okay, this section was in the
88,
90s, okay.
and in my personal opinion, if we start changing plats, it's their subdivision, it'll be mine next. I love the concept. I think that's wonderful. Matt and Renee are in the audience, and they both have great businesses and doing a great job in Springfield and Robertson County. But I don't think we, in my personal opinion, I don't think we need to be changing plats. Vice Mayor Harris, you're next. Mr.
Certainly, as Mr. Martin stated, currently, we're not set up under this process to have that type of business there. Not to say that we couldn't change those rules, but in my opinion, in a much different area. It is residential. It's not fair to those people that live in that subdivision, in my opinion. And then also, if I'm correct in this, I may be wrong, there's two entrances into that subdivision off of Tom Austin. One is into Nicholas, the other one is to Hogan Drive. You know, and if this were to be successful, and then those that are in the entrance to the Hogan Drive may be approached, and we may face the same thing there. And I just don't see it being fair to the people that live in that subdivision.
Mr. Hubbard, you had your hand up.
I'm concerned about traffic. I'm concerned about the devaluation of the property. And we have certain, come from me, we have certain areas that I consider our showcase areas, our relatives that live out there. And you know, you work hard, you get yourself in position to get into a very stable and upscale neighborhood, and you don't want to take it down. I love the concept of having food trucks, but not there. Not there. I cannot fathom seeing food trucks and all of the participants of the food trucks right across the street from this person that owned about a $950,000 home.
Be more than that.
You know, it was about $850,000 years ago. I wouldn't like it. And so, with the insistence of my relatives that live out there, they told me to say it emphatically, no.
Thank you. This side of the room, Ms. Arnold?
I just have to abstain from voting just because I have a business relationship with both representatives.
Okay. She stated that for the record. Mr. Gregg?
All these people here tonight, when they go home, they don't want to look at a food park truck. When they go home, they want to see their families, their children, their grandchildren. And it is home for them as well as me. I'm not just the alderman there, but I live there. And that's home. That's what I want to see when I go out there. I don't want to go out there and look at a bunch of food park trucks backed in there. It's a good idea, just wrong place.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion, we vote.
Okay. Ready for a vote? Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion fails 1 to 4 to 1.
No.
You voted.
I did not. No, I didn't mean to. Sorry.
Impeach her.
Would you like to change your vote?
Please.
2 years from now, remember that.
I'm over
Okay.
here worried about everybody but else
years from
voting.
now.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Hubbard,
Motion fails 0 to 5 to 1.
sorry. I'm watching everybody else and not watching myself. You wanted to state that again for the vote.
Yeah, motion fails 0 to 5 to 1.
Thank you. I was talking while you were. We'll move on to 2.4. Discuss and possible take action on Resolution 23-01, a resolution accepting the maintenance bond of Eden Point subdivision Phase 1. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard. Do we have a second to discuss? Second made by Alderman Trotter. Questions on this resolution? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to? We have two that hadn't voted.
Yes. There it is.
I messed up my vote the first time, and now we have two that's not voted.
It's ready.
That's ready? Okay, anybody like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6 to 0.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 23-02, a resolution authorizing the selection of the Community Development Partners, LLC, to provide administrative services for the LPRF grant project. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss. Any questions on this resolution?
This is for the recreational. Yes. Can I just make a quick comment on this?
Yes, sir.
Saturday before last, I came in and I saw these little beautiful babies playing basketball. That's one example. Then I see the socialization of citizens in our different recreational activities, greenways and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm for it. You know, for the expansions, any kind of expansions that we bring to our park system, because that is the way to keep this town diversified and a good mechanism of socialization. So we can come out our houses and meet our neighbors, whether I live out in Legacy or whether I live out on Rose Hill, we can come and be as a family and as a community. That's my comment.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? If not, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 23-03, a resolution authorizing the selection of Kimley Horn LLC to provide engineering and design services for the LPRF grant project. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss. Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. We're ready for our administrative agenda. 3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the retail electric rates of the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel cost adjustments by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard to discuss, a second by Alderman Gregg. I am going to call on our new electric director, Terry. I hope you have good news on your first meeting.
No, it's kind of bad.
Okay. Don't worry, his will probably be worse.
It went up 4.9%, which means on the residential home bill, roughly around $4 to $6 is what a residential rate would see on that increase.
Thank you. We're glad to have you.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Commonly, big bill in February, right?
Mr. Martin introduced to the TV crowd the new director.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor Harris. So Terry Risha is our new electric utility director. He started last week, so he's 8 days into this thing, and he's getting to come deliver bad news to you all tonight about electric, about the
Just
fuel
the
cost
messenger.
adjustment. But Terry has over 35 years of experience in the electric industry. He retired from the Clarksville Department of Electricity. He served time there as operations manager and as engineering manager. He's also worked in the private sector, and we're very, very fortunate to have Terry here. We're grateful for Steve Sachs and what Steve did for us, kind of filling in that interim role for what turned into 2.5 years. It was supposed to be a 6-month thing, and it turned into a lot longer than that. So we're grateful for what he did, but glad to have Terry as our permanent solution, and looking forward to working with him moving forward.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you. We're glad you're here. Any questions before we vote? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change the vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the monthly gas rates of the Springfield Gas Department. You got good news, sir?
Unfortunately not.
Mr. Riddle.
On the round that we gained last month, we lost it back. Purchase gas adjustments up 14.9%.
See? Told you.
But
You're just the
next month-
messenger.
Next month's looking good because we've already seen what those prices are.
Good. Any questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.3, discuss and possible take action to approve an engineering contract with Griggs and Malone, Inc., in the amount of $514,000 for the construction assistance for the variable speed drives high-service pump upgrade at the wastewater treatment plant. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss this purchase. For an engineering contract. No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.4, discuss and possible take action to approve the engineering service contract with Gresham Smith, Inc. in the amount of $442,996 for the Carrs Creek Interceptor project. Motion made by Alderman Gregg to discuss, a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions or discussion? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.5, discuss and possible take action to approve a contract with SEK Bell Nashville LLC in the amount of $25,306.25 for the water main relocation project at the Experiment Station Road Bridge over Wartrace Creek. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Hubbard to discuss. No questions on this contract. We're ready for a vote. Anyone want to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Let me ask a question. Do we
Yes, sir.
know how long this project's gonna take? Have we heard?
I
It's
keep
taken-
getting emails.
Taken about 7 to 8 years just to get to this point.
Is the
but
bridge in the city or the county?
The bridge is in the city.
And it is being replaced?
It is by TDOT. It's a TDOT project, so TDOT is doing, we're not spending any money other than relocating utilities. And the reason we're going with Hussey Gay Bell on this one is because they did the engineering work for the gas. Am I correct on that, Greg? Didn't they do the?
Yes, ours was just a slight,
Yeah.
mainly obtaining an easement, but yes.
And so that they had already had information on the area, and so we saved a lot of money here, basically.
So we assume TDOT is getting ready to start this project?
Batson Parkway.
I'm hesitant,
Batson
yeah.
Parkway.
I mean, I'm hesitant, really and truly, Mr. Harrison, the reason I say that, and not being funny about it, is that this project was going to construction when I got here 5 years ago. And 5 years later, we're not there, but we're as close as we've ever been, so.
Maybe you can get the Texas Department of Transportation to do it.
Right.
As long as it gets done.
Yeah,
It's way overdue.
it sure is, it really is.
I have no faith in them. They drug their feet on us for 18 years.
Any other questions? We're ready for a vote.
We vote.
No, we're
Oh,
ready.
I'm sorry. We had discussion. He had a question about that. 3.6, discuss and possible take action to approve the administrative service contract with Community Development Partner LLC in the amount of $43,000 for the award of the 2021 Community Development Block Grant. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Trotter. Any discussion on this? One of those bookkeeping matters. We're ready for a vote. Anyone want to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.7, discuss and possible take action on the request from Springfield High School regarding the new weight training facility. Motion made by Alderman Gregg to discuss, and a second by Vice Mayor Harris. And Mr. Dustin Wilson, head director of the football team, is here. That's too fancy. Coach, winning coach, mentor, lots of description for you. And
You better stop, you set me up for failure. I hope I have to cut you off.
That's okay. Come,
Just a brief background of what's going on. Probably 30 years now, not probably, 30 years ago, Springfield High School won a state football championship. And the building was, when you have momentum like that, a building was erected for weight training that we never had before the year 1993. We're very grateful for what we got, but that has come a time where 30 years has passed, and just to be honest with y'all, rules and regulations almost prevent us from housing any activity in there when you got heat regulations and just the regulations that come with education-based athletics now. Beyond, just going in there in a facility and turning the air conditioner on when it's hot or having it at 6 o'clock, but it's time for a renovation. If it rains real hard, the roof leaks. If it's hot, it's hot. It's not a lot of control over it, but as we have now gained a little bit of momentum as well, and it was coming the year 2020, I started talking about this as some things come, and then that kind of, for lack of better terms, just put it to bed a little bit as we all stayed in the house for a little while. And then last summer, these conversations picked back up, and a sizable donation and some people that are involved with around me in the football program. We set out on a fundraising campaign to raise $300,000 behind some advice from people that know what they're talking about. I can share a vision all day long, but I have no idea. I don't have as much idea as people that are educated about building or, whether it comes to engineering. So we're now going to do it in phases. We have started and pledged or fundraising. We're actually $400 over the halfway point in that. We're raised $150,000 and $400. And we've got the HVAC installed, and that was phase 1 to where we can get in the building. And we're just looking to move forward as things come with fundraising in school. Not to be here with my hand out, but unfortunately sometimes that's how this thing happens. And being in a community like ours is, hopefully I'm as proud as any of y'all to being raised with a 384 number, or had a 37172 address for 42 years, and I just want to see home better. If it's fortunate or unfortunate, I'm here tonight to ask for your support and us moving forward with this facility for our football program. And I say that last sentence, and I'll open the door to questions. When I left today, there were softball girls, and they're working out. And when I was in there working out today, I did not work out. You could tell by that. When I was in there watching the workout, running the workout, there was basketball players, freshman basketball players, and football players in there. So as I stand in front of you as a football coach, knowing where this come from and valuing tradition, it is utilized by people. And that comes with coaches coming and going and programs coming and going. But it's going to be on Springfield campus, guys. When it looks better, our place looks better, our community looks better. So that's what I'm here for.
Well, and thank you for the job you're doing and all the teachers at Springfield High School. You don't know how many lives you're touching and changing each and every day. And I love to hear the football players complaining about you enforcing the policies. And they're having to flip tires. I hear that at the Y sometimes.
All right. That's a workout.
I love it.
That's called an alternative workout.
I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Coach, in front of everyone, I want to commend you for the job that you've done and for the tradition that you brought back to Springfield. And your approach is sort of like the approach that my coaches at Tennessee State had in the 70s. Yes, I'm a former football player at Tennessee State. The discipline and the student athlete. So I thank you for that. And we'll all be proud. We'll all be proud because every year you got us in the playoffs and stuff. So I'm certainly proud of that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Trotter, I'm going to call on you now because you're sitting on that field every time they're playing at Springfield High School. I see you taking pictures, you and Miss Ruth. And
Well, I much as I love Brantford High School, which I graduated from, I'm also a big supporter of Springfield High, which my wife graduated from. And I think anything we can do to help the youth in Springfield and Robertson County, we should do. And I'm going to kind of yield to Mr. Martin. Maybe he can see what we can do for the coach and the team.
okay. Who else would like to speak? Mr. Harris?
That's what I was going to ask Ryan to explain where the money would come from if we decide to do something tonight.
Sure. So we have, normally we wouldn't do these type of things in the middle of a budget year or field these type of requests, but we're in a unique situation where their timeline sort of aligns with where we are. You all approved an appropriation in the FY23 budget for the airport that the county did not match, which meant the airport couldn't proceed with that particular budget and had to amend their own budget. The airport board did. So we have a sum of money that we can use. Some of it is going to be used elsewhere. So, we didn't, with inflation going on, we're using some of it to cover some overages on some items. But I would recommend that if you all are considering granting the request from the high school, that you look at a sum of $30,000 for the project.
Okay. Ms. Arnold?
I think that that's absolutely fantastic. I guess I like to always kind of push the envelope. Is there any way we could do a little bit more? Is that kind of is that where we want to be?
You all can do as much as you'd like. I mean, we just might have to come back and amend the budget. I mean, you know,
Are we out of line at 35?
not at all. Not at all. That gives 11,000 to cover some overages, and I think we can make that work, absolutely.
Since he brought it to our attention, I'll be glad to second it, but I want to give it back to Mr. Trotter for the motion.
Sure.
I make a motion with the wheel.
What's your? Yeah. You make a motion for how much?
Wait, Alderman John.
35,000.
Here, sorry.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor by Alderman Trotter and a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Mr. Gregg, would you like to speak?
I'm proud of Springfield and proud of the job that you're doing, and I wish we could do more right now.
I wish we could do it all. We can. Any other questions?
Comment?
Yes, sir.
We ought to be Springfield proud. All the other communities getting behind their teams, and so we need to get in behind the coach.
We're filling up that stadium.
We straight up for Springfield.
Thank y'all.
It's exciting. I had to wait a number of years to get my pass to park. They made me park out in the North Florida.
I don't know
I
who's
finally
in
got
control of that.
Mayor,
I just like to harass you while you're.
just to let it be known so that the public will know, we have supported other areas.
Oh, yes.
School things throughout
We've
the
done the
Springfield area.
We've done the reading program. What else have we done?
Yeah, so and I think that's important maybe for those in the audience and those that watch this, they're watching streaming live or watch the recording. Part of our strategic plan at the City of Springfield, which we have strategic planning coming up next, or January the 30th at 4 o'clock, so that's a nice reminder and plug there, is to establish a strong relationship and support the school system and those schools inside the City of Springfield. We do that annually through budget appropriations for the Title I schools and the after-school reading program. We've also done a lot over the last couple of years through the electric department with TVA grants for Springfield Middle and the Innovation Academy. It has been some time since we've done anything for Springfield High School. We've kind of focused a lot of our efforts on a lot of those other schools in Springfield, the elementary schools and the middle schools, so it's perfectly appropriate, and that's the reason that we brought Coach Wilson here and or being able to consider this request in the middle of the budget year.
And I'm proud to, I mean, when was this building first built, did you say?
94.
94, okay. I was in the first freshman class that went all 4 years into new high school when it started 81 and then graduated in 85. So I'm a little bit older than the building, but glad to be supporting it tonight.
I was gonna say, you're alumni, Mr. Gregg's alumni, Mr. Martin's alumni,
Mr. Trotter's wife.
Miss
And my
Brickles.
two kids graduated.
Miss Brickles is alumni. Got a lot of alumni. Mr. Beers?
Can I just say this?
Yeah.
Especially, and Coach know what I'm talking. He's in a class, and he play against a particular football, where strength is important, and most old schools have big-time strength programs. So in order to keep his boys big and strong, am I wrong, Coach?
Yes, sir. You're helping provide the opportunity for that.
Yes, sir. We need to do it because he goes against those 350-pound high school linemen that's benching almost 400 pounds and stuff. So we want our guys to be against them. We'll
be waiting to ride to wherever the playoffs are.
I hope it's a 5240 Highway 76. I'll be glad to get on a bus too, as long as we're in it.
That's right. Any other discussion before we vote?
Comment publicly, I'm gonna tell TSU they better recruit your quarterback. That boy was the best in the state.
All right, we're ready for vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you for coming tonight
Thank
and
you.
taking your time. Moving on to 3.8. 3.8, discuss and possible take action on a memorandum understanding between the City of Springfield and Springfield Kiwanis Club establishing the term of donation for the skate park at Garner Street Park. Motion made to discuss.
Hold on, we got issues.
Okay. We're taking a slight,
Punching buttons,
we're taking a slight little break.
not the right thing.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Sprinkles is having trouble with the
Okay.
computer due to Mr. Hubbard.
Okay, who made the motion?
just wanna be hard
Who made the motion?
Who made the motion? Go ahead,
Okay.
there you go.
Motion by Vice Mayor Harris and a second by Alderman Trotter to discuss this. And since I'm in Springfield, Kiwanis, I'm going to tell you that Mr. Ed Sweeney is in the room. He is the president. Mike Norton, several other members of Kiwanis are back there. And this is something that's been worked on for a number of years at Kiwanis. And Rotary liked to help. I think they did, didn't they?
We do things.
We did things. I'm sorry, had to, pick on the Rotary member up here.
Is this totally funded by you?
No,
No, so this is, if you're ready, Mayor, I'll.
Yes, sir.
if-
Now that I'm
Can I
ready.
please have the floor? No, we're grateful for Kiwanis, grateful for the mayor and Mr. Sweeney that's here tonight. I believe he's their current president, so he is available for any questions. The skate park facility has been a vision for quite some time. It's coming to reality. Kiwanis is nearing the execution of a contract with the company that's going to construct the skate park. The skate park went from kind of a tier one, we're going to get a skate park, and it kept growing. And so it became a much larger project, which kind of delayed because more funds need to be raised. There was a grant involved. We are providing some labor work. We're providing some sidewalk, things like that. But as far as the skate park construction itself, that is going to be done by Kiwanis and the execution of the contract with Hunger Skate Parks. I just could have left it at Hunger. Yeah, Hunger Skate Parks. So, we're thankful. So you all, and as a result of that, any donation, any substantial donation we have to approve. Kind of unique that as we help one local area of need, we're able to receive as well. So it just shows how, as a community, we all are working together and working in unison. And so we're grateful for the donation. You all need to accept that as well as approve the MOU that will dictate the terms of the partnership.
it takes all of us, not just one. Yes, sir.
One of the things, that would take a little pressure off the greenway because we have a lot of skateboarders.
Yes,
and
we
it-
do.
And it's difficult to control yourself as old folk like me are walking on the greenway and these young kids are zooming by. So it's long overdue.
And if you want to know anything about it, Mr. Martin probably has a little bit of insight. I think Ms. Timmermeyer is here and Mr. Sweeney, they could tell you more about the facility itself. I don't know anything about it. I'm not a skater, so I don't know much about it, but there's a lot of people that are fired up about it. I think that's great.
We're ready to get this going
We
and
have a
get
lot of
this
kids
completed.
Skateboarders.
Ms. Barty, I am in Kiwanis. Can I vote for this? Do I abstain? Okay. We'll make sure I'm legal.
I make a motion, we vote.
All right.
Mr. Trotter said hurry.
Mr. Trotter said, hurry up, quit talking.
We can vote now?
Sure. He called for it. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Gotta put my glasses back on. 3.9, discuss and possible take action on the ratification of the purchase from the electric department for interceptor pulse closer faulted interceptor. Well, that's a mouthful. In the amount of $38,708.25. I butchered that. I've had a rough night tonight. No, I haven't been drinking. I had to drive to Clarksville as soon as I was done at the bank. Rushed back to Springfield. Have you been to Clarksville and seen the traffic lately? I shall not fuss about trying to get out on Memorial Boulevard anymore, so I'm rattled tonight. I apologize for.
All these morning people are waiting for you to go outside.
They were about ready to kill me. That's the reason they're staying around. Any questions on this? 3.9. Motion was made by Alderman Trotter and a second by Alderman Arnold to discuss. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Can I say something before
Are,
Ryan does his?
are you gonna say that you wanna put the consent docs together, because there's nothing on the
I
consent?
believe that's the first time I've never seen there not being a consent.
Yes, sir, Vice Mayor.
A few years ago, I don't remember how long ago it's been, I want to commend the city on something. I was one of the ones that helped institute having a public relations employee. And how important that has been to the city. I think that, Candace, did you start in that position? Okay. And then Kara did it, and she's left, and we're looking for someone presently. But I have the privilege of being on the Stokes Brown Library Board as their chair from the city. And Michelle has largely attributed this past year to the city of Springfield for sharing what's going on at the library. We have a computer class that's just started that, if we had anybody there at all, was unusual. We may get one person to flow in, but this last time, since the city has shared it, and certainly it can be other attributions to it, but there was 14 in the class this time when we started. And then Christmas with Santa has been around 35, 40, 50 people. There were over 300 people this time. And
Wow.
Michelle got to be the bad guy and telling the little kids there was no more time to see Santa. But just to bring out the point to the city and what we're doing in this public relations position, and also that advertising works and putting it out in a proper, there's a lot of bad that goes on Facebook. There's a lot of good that goes on Facebook too, but I appreciate what the city is doing to promote things that are going on within, even though Stokes Brown is a county library, we are located within the city limits of Springfield. We're both funded by the city and the county, and we're open to all of the county. But through the city sharing these items, it's really increased the flow there.
Good.
I wanna piggyback on that really quick, because I think that is so true. I think that our social media presence is second to none. I think that you guys have developed such a wonderful program to highlight the positive things happening in Springfield, to showcase things that might not always be positive, but putting them out in an informational light, as we should as the city. I've had so many friends who are looking to move here, and they say, gosh, you know, you guys are more active on social media than Nashville is, than so-and-so is. I feel like I actually get the personality of the city. So thank you for developing that program. Thank you for managing it. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm
And
really proud
it's
of
great,
Springfield.
because when I get questions, sometimes I don't know all the answers, and I'm going to our social media page.
Yeah.
And I'm looking it up on Facebook to get the answer while I'm talking to the person on the phone. And it's a great way for us to get our news out. And, you know, we got a good audience tonight, and we need your help. The only way we're gonna continue to make this a better town to live in, a better city, a better county, is all these partnerships and all this volunteer. And the first thing that you can do for us is to tell a good story to somebody about Springfield. And that is the reason we set up here and decided to fund the marketing person and have that, and it's paying off dividends. And that's a great thing. So I'll ask everybody in the audience, please, this week, tell somebody a good story about Springfield. We got so many good things going on. We are the only ones that can tell our story and be positive about it. It's up to us.
Nothing beats word of mouth.
City Manager, Mr. Ryan Martin.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Harris, thank you, Ms. Arnold. That is that's a huge compliment. What you may not know is that Ms. Tillman was actually invited last year to be a part, I think it was last year, maybe it was the year before last, to be a part of a statewide conference, a panel, talking about municipal social media programs, because we were recognized as someone, as an institution, as an entity that was doing a great job. The hardest part for me, I can't get my news any longer from Hip Springfield. I have to look at our social media, I guess. I guess that'll do, it's close enough. But I'm gonna move through quickly the report, because I don't want Alderman Trotter to make a motion to adjourn while I get finished, because I do have some important things to share with you very quickly. First and foremost, our clinic, I don't know if you know this, I think I shared it with you, that our clinic is in a temporary location at 514 South Brown, the Springfield-Robertson County Employee Health Clinic. We had a pipe bust. We were one of the casualties there at the clinic of the freeze that we had, in a pipe bust, and had a lot of damage that was done to that building. That building is owned by the county, so they're currently working on renovating that and rehabbing that. But in the meantime, the clinic has moved to the 514 South Brown Street Doctors Plaza building right across from the county office building, and that'll be the temporary location for the time being. Sales tax receipts are still coming in very, very strong. We are currently $450,000 ahead of budget through the first half of the year for local option sales tax. Now, that sounds like a great number. I think the cautious optimism there is that some of that's due to inflation.
Price of eggs.
Absolutely.
We are expecting a pretty good January and a pretty good February. As you know, February is Christmas for us. February sales tax that we receive in February is December sales, which are reported to the state in January, and the state submits that to us in February. So that looks good. The reason I bring that up is because you all know we used $1.1 million from reserves to balance the budget, the general fund budget this year, and we've already cut into that $450,000. Now, what is yet to be determined is how those expenditures shake out with inflation, because as you know, things cost a lot more than we had been able to plan for a year ago, knowing what we're going to buy, not knowing how much it was going to cost, knowing what we would need to purchase right now. So we'll keep an eye on that. To kind of parlay that into the audit came back very well. Ankur did a good job going over some of the highlights, but the takeaway from that is that we are very fiscally healthy. That our folks are responsible. You all are responsible in what you appropriate, and then you give that budget to us, and we spend it wisely. And that was the takeaway. Our department heads that are sitting up here do a good job. Ms. Crockett and her staff do a phenomenal job of making sure that the finances stay in order. So we are fiscally responsible, and we are fiscally healthy, very much so. And so we're grateful. Mayor, as you mentioned earlier, there are cities when times get hard, when inflation hits, when the first sign of a recession hits, they have to immediately lay off employees. When you lay off employees, that means you cut services for your citizens. I don't think we want to be in the shape to where we immediately, at the first sign of any economic downturn, that we have to cut services for our citizens. So fortunately, we are very fiscally healthy and can weather somewhat of an economic storm if that were to pass. And if not, we'll continue to have one-time expenditures, capital items that we can use some things out of our rainy day fund for. Strategic planning, I made mention of it earlier, is January 30th, 4 o'clock at the airport. We will revisit our strategic plan, talk about progress. We'll update it if need be. Topics that were submitted in addition to the normal agenda were the Old Greenbrier Pike and Bill Jones Industrial intersection, as well as transient vendors. So both of those two things will be discussion. We're doing some internal research to be prepared for that discussion in 2 weeks, regardless of what I sent weekend before last. I sent a text on the weekend or an email saying it was next week. It's not. It's the 30th. So disregard that. It'll be Monday the 30th. Winter Wonderland was another huge success. We had over 21,000 visitors based on our traffic counts at Winter Wonderland. There aren't 21,000 people in Springfield, so that means people are coming from other places to visit Winter Wonderland. It's a setup. So kudos to Mr. Martin and his staff and all of the departments that participated in making that a reality. I passed out a form to you before the meeting, the annual utility training statements. They are required. So if you did not do any training, you may not be required to do any training this past year in 2022. So if you didn't, just put 0 on it, sign it, and give it back to us. We'll keep those on file for the state. If you have a question about when your utility training is needed, let me know, and we'll figure that out. For those that don't know, all of these folks up here are required to go through utility board training and learn how to manage, learn how to appropriate and be the legislators and operators of utilities and be owners of utilities. So there is some on-the-job training that's required in order to do that. And that's it.
And Thursday morning at 7:30, Good Morning Robertson County will be right here in this room, and I will be, as city mayor, talking about all the good things in Robertson County and Springfield. So please come join us. Meeting is adjourned.